I'm Susan Roberti, and welcome to Let's Talk. This is a special show that I'm doing today with two very special gentlemen, and I really think you're going to enjoy it. I know I am because it's Rob and Cole from the Steelers. I love you all. Thank you for all the nice things that you say. Welcome
Well, thank
to
you.
BPTV.
Thank you for having us on the show.
Yes.
And what are we talking about today?
Well, prostate cancer, and we'll begin with Robin talking as the
Yes.
charity
Yeah,
began.
we're going to talk a little bit about prostate cancers, simply, and we're always talking about prostate cancer when we're out and about. We're prostate cancer survivors, and we've, in my family, it's a lot of prostate cancer.
I understand that to be true.
Yeah, it is
Very
a lot.
hereditary.
Yeah, it's very hereditary in my family, and so doctors say somewhere in between 5 to 10%
Wow.
of most things are really hereditary, but it has a lot to do with how we take care of ourselves. Really, I think it has a whole lot to do with how we take care of ourselves, what we put in our mouths, what we eat. When you have similarities, even though you may not stay in the same town, but you grew up a certain way of eating different types of foods. I think that's also a corporate of what we end up dealing with prostate cancer. Prostate cancer over the years has been a disease that's still today that a lot of people just don't know about, simply because we don't talk about it enough.
Men don't talk about it.
Men don't talk about it. Women don't talk about it. And really nobody talks about it. I have a vision in the future one day that that young men need to know something about prostate cancer before they graduate high school. It should be part of the curriculum of physical education, which physical education has run a whole circle now. You know, it started off with exercise programs, eating well, and all those types of things, along with health, physical education in health. Today, you know, a lot of kids, they don't have to have physical education when they get to high school. They can skip that class and go do something else. But then we find ourselves, as we get in our 20s and we start to get older, we realize that, wow, golly, I skipped that physical education class and I really have no idea what to do. And then we spend a whole lot of our time running to doctors. But our physical health is it's a key. Many years ago, my father was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and little did I know that my father's prostate cancer was, I didn't know it started. Where it started, okay? He had prostate cancer, but it metastasized, ended up in his lungs. And age 44, he had to have part of his lung removed. I was a young man at the time, 1 out of 10 children. I was 7 of 10. And I was so young that I didn't realize, you know, what was really going on or where it started. I realized that he had, when he got the lung cancer, we realized it was lung cancer. And I put those together. I felt that because he smoked cigarettes, and he was also a auto and body repairman, and he sprayed and painted cars, and you know, I thought all of those combinations was where his lung cancer started. But his lung cancer was a metastasis from the prostate cancer.
Wow.
And my father has a first cousin that ended up with a similar type thing. He was a smoker, died at the age of, in his mid-40s, 47 years old, and that was Nat King Cole. And it's same thing. Where Wikipedia shares with us today that Nat's prostate cancer started in his lungs, but at age 47. Most doctors will tell you that you don't get lung cancer until you're later on in life. In your 60s, with lung cancer. Lung cancer in your 40s, that's early. So we were able to tie those things together, even though Nat was no longer around. My father was no longer around, but we were able, just talking to doctors, realizing that, wow, okay, this is something that can start someplace and then metastasize, end up all over your body, and then you're dealing with cancer just all over you. So with the Robin Cole Foundation, what we do is bring about awareness. We try to educate people, and then we do blood screenings with some of the funds that we raise. But number one is to bring about awareness. Let's talk about it, and trying to have different events around the city, different events around the state that we can get involved in, and partnering up with other prostate cancer foundations or really health foundations, or not have to be foundations, but a lot of the events that we put on. And that it's also involving high blood pressure, involving diabetes, involving some other things. You know, over the years, we continue to, and I continue to support, because I have more than just prostate cancer in my family. I have breast cancer also in our family. So I've always supported breast cancer over the years. And then we started the Foundation for Prostate Cancer. We just, prior to that, just realizing that nobody talks about this. Where do you go to hear about prostate cancer? Where do you go? And then, and I know a lot of men are proud sometimes of being, and sometimes they're not even proud. They just don't know. They don't understand that.
Well, they don't want to understand.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, you're just looking at it, prostate cancer and some of the cancers, and you think about where prostate cancer starts.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is why a lot of men, they just don't want to hear it.
Right, and there's no pain. And that's the problem, because at one time it was if you were 60 years old and over to be checked for prostate cancer. Now they're saying 40.
Oh yeah.
So if you're 40 years old, from that time on, you should have prostate, have it checked.
Yeah,
now
exactly
how did you find out?
The way I found out is, well, my brother, 1999, my first brother was diagnosed, and 3 other brothers between 1999 and 2004. In 2003, my PSA and my PSA had been running, and that's a number that we use. The PSA test is PSA is a specific antigen test that we do. It's a blood test that we utilize, and that's one of the ways that we find out how active your cancer may be, or if something is starting. So those numbers can be anywhere from 0 up to, there's people with PSAs that has been close to 100, okay? And you won't realize what kind of numbers those really are. But when my brothers began to get diagnosed with prostate cancer, every time one was diagnosed with it, from 1999 to 2003, I realized that my chances was going up. And in 2004, after just a physical, my doctor said, your PSA rose 1 point. And I said, well, 1 point, is that a big deal? He says, not for an average person, or not for a person that doesn't have any prostate cancer in their family. For a person that has prostate cancer in their family, I think what we should do is I'll send you to a urologist and let him follow these numbers. Wow. And then we did go to the urologist, and when I got to the urologist, he says, well, your PSA went from 1 to 2. He shared with me, he said it was 1 for a good 5 to 6 years straight across, and it just maintained at 1. He said, but from last year to this year, it went to 2. And I said, well, what's going on? He says, well, really, there's a couple of another test that they do prior, along with the PSA. They need to do the DRE test. Okay, that's the physical examination. And he says, well, there's no swelling. You have no swelling at all, and I don't think anything's wrong. And then I asked him the question, how do I know for sure? And when I asked him the question, how do I know for sure? He said, well, we can do a biopsy. He said, but I really don't think there's anything going on. He said, we can check it again in 6 months. I said, Doc, I don't want to wait that long to find out if there's something going on now, okay? Because I have a dead father and 3 brothers with prostate cancer. So what we did is we took the next step and did a biopsy, and it came back, prostate cancer.
Wow.
Out of those 12 tests, the 12 snippets that they do with that test, and the thing, not only, and this is the PSA at 2. The other thing about it is there's a score. It's called a Gleason score, and they score it from anywhere from 1 to 10. And my Gleason score was high, so I had a very active cancer already, and I could mess around 2-3 years, getting a little test, and wait for my PSA to rise while this cancer is growing outside my prostate. And So I was very lucky. I was very lucky to be proactive, not
Yeah.
wait around until somebody blows a whistle and there's something else and said,
Yeah,
oh, okay,
yeah.
you know, you're hurting now. Because that's what happened to my brothers. They had
Oh.
symptoms. I had no symptoms. And I was very lucky with that.
That's the problem I know with mine. November 19th, 2011, excuse me, my wife passed away. And one of my children suggested January I have a physical. So I went in and found out that my prostate had risen. So they suggested I go to a specialist, in which I did. And I went to see Kevin Bordeaux, and Kevin is now on our board.
Mm-hmm.
But Kevin looked at it, he did the testing and whatever, and I had the prostate removed that summer, June of 2012, and had it done robotically, which is great. And then I've been clean since then, but once again, I had no pain. I just went on behalf of my daughters, you know, asking me to go for it. And I think that's the problem. A lot of
Yeah.
the guys out there, you know, you should have a check at least once, maybe twice a year. And like Robin said, if it's in your family, then you really need to have it tested and looked at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
not being a sissy.
No.
Huh?
Well,
Don't
yeah.
you have that
Yeah.
checked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You have to.
yeah.
Yeah. You can't do that.
Well,
It's,
that's the thing. People joke about the testing. But,
Yeah. Well, you know.
You're one
it's-
and done.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know. Yeah. You're right. Exactly. That's what I don't know. You know, if
Yeah,
you come
but
from if you come from a background of sports, all
Yeah.
of those tests going to be you're going to do these types of tests every year.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so when you come from college to you know and doing what I did and had the opportunity to do with playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was you know getting checked, understanding what's going on, and understanding your body is key. Okay, for your health and everything else that comes along with it. You know, you have to,
Yeah.
and you can't wait. This is a disease that you don't want to wait for symptoms, because most things there's a pain comes first, and then you say, okay, all right, can I take it? No, I can't take it anymore. I mean, something's wrong, so now let me go. Okay, with prostate cancer, pain doesn't come first.
Yeah.
Prostate cancer or any cancer, breast cancer is the same way. It's something's growing in you. You have no
Yeah.
idea that it's now active because
Yeah.
we all have the genes of cancer in us. But what
Sure.
kicks it off? We, you know, the foundation. We started the foundation back in 2006.
Yeah.
Okay, with a group of Jerry Livingston and also Jerry Bortman back in
Right.
the days when we started the foundation. And the reason why I elected to start a foundation here because we were doing work here and we were having events here, but we were working for we were sending most of the money back to Colorado. And
Oh.
I'm saying, well, why don't we keep some money here to utilize it here?
Yeah.
This is where we live. This is where we're raising the money.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we doing? And I said, hey, well, we need to start a foundation, and that's where the foundation started.
Because
And,
what we were doing too is we would go to churches, businesses, and whatever. Whoever would have us talk about prostate cancer. And we, of course, would have a doctor and 2 nurses and do free PSAs. And all we would ask for the church or the business would be a small donation to offset the cost. But doing that is a great idea because people, I mean, look at the odds. How many people had a PSA taken at one of these events and said, hey, we have a problem right here in River City.
Now, if men don't go to the doctor at all, because some men just don't feel, you know.
Until they're hurting.
Yeah.
so
Can't walk
something
or
And it's
happened.
too late.
Yeah, they're good
Yeah.
old. There you go.
Some
too
of them
late.
walk around with a big knot on their head and say, hey, man, you know, what is that?
Growing a big
You need to go to the doctor and say, what does bother me?
Oh no! I'll tell you just how bad. How misinformed
what.
people are. A couple years ago, Robin and I were downtown having lunch. What was the restaurant near the stadium? And we're having lunch down there, and this guy comes out from the kitchen, and he said, Mr. Cole, and Robin said, yeah, and he's appeasing him, and he's talking to him, and he said, why are the 2 of you here today? And we said, we have a meeting with some people about prostate cancer, and the kid, honest to God, did this. Isn't it back here somewhere, the prostate? And Robin and I looked at each other and went, oh my God, misinformed, no idea.
Oh, it's like that for a lot of men.
Yeah,
Like for a lot, especially in their 30s and 40s.
yeah.
Wow.
30s and 40s, they have no idea what you're talking about.
They don't wanna
you
have
know,
an
just-
idea.
And then a lot of times, they
Yeah.
don't want to have an idea. Well, they will once they, sometime when it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you start it off like we do, okay, and I've talked about this often, I remember middle school, we were in a health class, and they divided this classes up, and they took the women over, the girls over here, and guess what they did with the boys? They rolled out the balls. Go, you guys go out and play gym.
Yeah.
Football, threw a football at you, threw basketballs at you, and we're out there playing kickball, whatever, volleyball. And the
get
girls
outta
are
here.
learning how to examine their breast.
Yeah,
They're learning
taking
this
care-
already. A man goes straight through high school, straight through college, has no idea.
idea.
Nobody's talked to him about it.
Invincible.
And all of a sudden, he's 43 years old, and somebody says, "Hey, your PSA's high." Okay. Or they're informed, this has someone in their family with
Right,
prostate cancer.
right,
The doctor
right.
said, "Oh, you have it in your family, then
Yeah.
maybe you need to start getting checked early."
Yeah.
Okay. And you go in and they're talking, say, well, and then they give you a piece of information. Now, you go to your general practitioner, you don't find any information in there about prostate cancer.
Nope.
No.
You go to your general practitioner, then you go to the urologist,
Yeah.
okay, and then he has a couple of brochures on prostate cancer. And he passes you the brochures and say, read up on it,
Right. And that's it. No further.
okay?
One and done.
Okay, read up on it. And so it's just time for us to begin to understand we need to move the needle forward. And it's been a long time now. We still have 28 to 30,000 men dying every year with prostate cancer.
Oh my
and
Lord.
And the ones
Yeah.
that are it's just and it shouldn't be. Okay, it shouldn't be. The information,
Oh, my Lord.
when you think about diseases, you think about it, for an example, you think about Zika disease. I was at I was in a middle school speaking, middle and high school speaking last year. And I just threw this question out because the rumors that we were in the gym and all the classes were in there. And I just asked, I said, how many of you ever heard of the Zika disease? And not everybody raised a hand, but hands went up like crazy. Okay. And then I just asked another question. I said, do you know how many people have passed away because of this disease? And they don't have any idea, but they heard about the disease. And I just wanted that information. Okay. And if I
Yeah.
would ask them, how many of you heard of prostate, know anybody with prostate cancer or any of those kinds
Yeah.
of things? Probably not.
Do you know what September is?
Probably not.
Yeah, that is for cancer, right?
Prostate cancer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Prostate cancer.
Not a lot of people.
Prostate
know.
cancer awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot of
Now,
people are
now
aware of it.
because breast cancer really runs throughout the year. There's
Yeah.
no stop for breast
Oh,
cancer.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
anymore. It used to be
yeah.
October used to be the month for breast cancer.
I know,
Now,
I know.
when we start doing something in September, it's all breast cancer is already.
Yes.
Always talking.
Yeah.
It goes right to breast cancer. So, there's you try to fit it in somewhere along the line.
Right.
And like you share, like
Oh,
we're sharing,
my.
nobody really wants to talk about it, but. Even though a doctor tells you if you live long enough, you're gonna have some challenges with your prostate. It all depends on. I think it all depends on how you take care of your body.
Yeah.
I think if you don't have it early on, if you end up with it late, it's gonna have something to do with what you're eating.
Yeah.
Okay, and doctors
Uh-huh.
approve that.
Oh, sure.
Watch what you
They're
eat.
finding
Balance
out.
your your diet with a lot of vegetables, more vegetables, more so than a lot of.
Now, how
meat,
long
but-
did it take for you two to share the fact that you had prostate cancer?
6 months, maybe 7
Oh,
months.
Was it?
yeah.
Yeah.
And what made you decide to share that with each other?
That's a good question.
I don't know. If
Goes
we were
back
just talking
to
about it.
growing up in the roughest part of Bethel
Yeah,
Park.
yeah. We're just having a conversation. Just having a conversation
Just
first.
conversation,
Yeah.
and then
And then went
that's
through-
yeah.
yeah.
and it just led to the prostate, or maybe it was my father-in-law. I think my father-in-law was at the gym, and somehow we got the conversation with my father-in-law, and then it led back to us, and we both looked at each other like deer in the headlights. You got to be kidding,
Aw.
Yeah.
And then we teamed up, and
Yeah.
Boy, how nice. See,
Yeah.
you two
Which is
were-
easy to talk about for
Yes.
us. It was easy to
Having
talk about
been a
for me. I've
survivor.
been
Yeah,
talking about it for
and-
years. That's why we started Foundation in the first
Yeah.
place.
And
Because
you're
of,
not afraid of it.
No.
That's
Yeah.
the reason
Yeah.
that women, we don't talk about breast cancer to
Right.
each other. We don't, because if we do, it'll happen to us. And there's a lot of us older
they think
ladies.
that, yeah.
well, the thing
Yeah.
of it is, from what I understand, I remarried 5 years ago, and my wife goes in for a breast exam, and actually there's some pain involved with that. Well, the prostate for the exam, there's not pain. It's a 5-second, you're one and done.
Yeah.
And so I'm surprised more men are not getting involved with that because you want to keep abreast of all that stuff.
Yeah, and the schools, especially with the boys in 10th, 11th, and
Yeah.
12th grade.
Sure.
And college, absolutely,
Oh,
there
yeah.
should be, questions asked all through college with young men.
Which
Yeah.
they're not going to do in college, because when you get to the college level, it's unless the kids start the program.
Right.
Okay. It has to be
Right.
something that's started by the youth for
Oh,
the most
really?
part. I have some young doctors that I questioned before, because when you start talking about prostate, they were asking me more questions about it than that I thought that they would learn in medical school. But everything is so specialized today.
Right.
If you're not a urologist, or you're specializing in this thing, you don't have a lot of conversation about it, especially if you're an orthopedic doctor. Now you hear, other doctors come in there, and maybe, you hear all these things that's going on, but they're going to say, okay, send you to this one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, or send you to that one. Because, and the thing about men, they don't want to let anybody know that they're having challenges with their manhood.
There
Right.
you go.
Okay.
I was hoping
They
you'd
do
say
not want
Oh, my
that,
God, yeah.
okay? Because I have men that have prostate cancer, and they'll tell their wives, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Please don't tell anybody, okay?
Mm.
And I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Like like you're the only bull in the pen. You got a whole lot of bulls running around bigger than that, stronger and tougher
Yeah,
than you.
yeah.
Okay, you better start sharing the information and not being afraid of it.
very
And
good.
if anything, that would be the first thing you would want to know about.
Yeah.
There you go.
But you
Okay, if that's
Yeah.
important, if that's the most important to you,
Yeah.
that should be the first thing that you go into to learn and know
Yeah.
about.
And I think too, with myself having done it robotically, you go under, and you only have about 2 weeks after the operation to where it's uncomfortable. Then after that, it's gone. It's done. It's finished.
done.
Yeah. So it's a good idea to have it. And they also have seeds. You can have seeds.
Yeah,
It all
that's
depends.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. As far as that, for far as treatment is concerned, there's a lot of
A
different
lot of
things out there for
variables. A
treatment.
lot of variables.
lot,
yeah.
lot of different, and you and your doctor will choose the one that works best for you.
Yeah.
That's important. You guys choose the one that works best for you. And I always say, the younger you are, the less choices you have. I would say the older you are, the more choices.
Right.
Wow.
Okay,
Right.
because when you're older, you can say, well, I could do this, do that. When you're young, how long do you want to take a chance? Say, for example, if you're in your 40s, do you take it? There's some things that you can radiation treatment, chemotherapy, treatments like that. Some of those treatments you can't come back to once you do them.
Oh, okay.
You'll save that till after the age of 60.
Right.
Okay. If you're in your 40s,
Yeah.
there's one choice.
Yeah.
Or it's two choices. Probably remove, and then
Yeah.
and then you have the proton treatment.
Right.
And then you have or the radiation seeds.
But it means nothing that you're not a man anymore. That has nothing to do
Oh, no.
with changing.
No.
And that's what I was saying to you earlier.
Yeah, that's the psyche.
I'm 74 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I like me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've lived my life, and things have changed for me.
Yeah.
But I still, like you can go out there, love people, and help people to understand that that has nothing to do. My having boobs has nothing to do with me being a woman.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know.
Exactly.
Or me
It's
being
just
a
your
man.
culture. You know.
Yeah. yeah.
Yeah,
But
true.
no, I understand. True for this statement too. But yeah, like I said, and I think what Robin and I are doing today is just telling everyone out there who's watching that take a look at it, look into it, go to your doctor, have an exam. You would be surprised.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Prostate cancer is not a death sentence.
Yeah.
By no means. And if whatever you have to deal with, you deal with those things afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the very first thing is the awareness. Get yourself tested. Start getting yourself tested, and so you have a baseline in your 40s. I always
go.
say, and if you have family history, you may want to start at 40. My son started at 40 years old with family history. But if you don't have a family history, I think at 45 years old,
Yeah.
I would say yes, you need to go. They're going to do blood tests. Okay, they're going to take how many? They don't, not 20 vials of blood, but they sure got a lot of them.
Yeah.
Okay, they got enough of them that that Count Dracula would enjoy. But Tell them to run the PSA for you. You run that PSA, you get a baseline at the age of 45, and if it's zeros,
God
you don't
bless
have to go back.
Yeah.
Don't go. You may not go back for a couple of years. I say, oh, you don't. But if you're having a physical done every year, why not? Why not just go run the PSA?
Exactly,
Run the PSA anyway.
exactly.
Just keep running the PSA, and if when you watch and when it starts to increase a little bit, then you know. You're not just walking in blind one day and you're 50 years old. You're walking in blind. You're 50. Says, and the doctor says, well, have you ever had a PSA? And you say, well, no, I've never had a PSA. What is that? And then you explain to you what it is, and he runs a PSA. And he says, wow, your PSA is high. Well, what does that mean?
Oh.
Okay, and you have no idea, and then you go back and start reading on it, and you say, what?
So the important thing is to share.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're also saying to those of you who are viewing this, if you have had your prostate removed, we're always looking for more members, people to get involved with us.
Yeah, and you don't have to have your prostate removed for that.
No, you don't. No.
We're always looking for people that want to get involved and help something.
Yeah.
Even the ladies. Okay.
You don't even have to have one.
Yeah.
As far as we're concerned, you can
That we know
you
of.
can come and be a part of this. Yes.
Yeah,
You
but
can
we
come and be a part.
and
Always looking for people. I mean,
exactly. And
Yeah.
at the end, we're going to have our address that you can
Yes.
send a resume if you wanted to become involved with the board.
Sure.
Or if you just wanted to become involved with us.
Yes.
Or what is that word called? Donations.
Donations.
If you want to send a donation,
Yeah.
we'll have the information for
And
you.
we've had events
Well-
throughout the years.
Yes.
I hate to say it, I always get sad. But
That's
it's
the
time
end.
to say
Oh,
the end.
shucks, that went
Yes.
fast.
Yes.
And
Jeff
thank-
took all the time.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
I've been doing, I'll crow a little bit. I've been doing my show for 23 years. And every time I'll just meet people,
Mm-hmm.
and do the show. And every time they always say, you mean it's over already?
Yes.
And before it starts, you mean we have to talk a half an hour? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But if you're passionate about something
Yes.
and you really care about people, the time just goes like that.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
And
It goes like that at home too.
yeah,
Anymore?
yeah, isn't it awful?
Yeah. I get on the treadmill and I say, golly, I have to be on this thing for 30 minutes. God,
Yeah.
that's a long time.
Yeah.
And then you lose what?
And then I go upstairs and answer the phone and come back down. 30 minutes gone.
Oh, I know.
I keep saying, how did I get here? How
Yeah.
did I get to 74?
Yeah.
All the hours and the minutes and seconds, and they're gone, So sharing this with our community, I thank you so very, very much for your time.
Well, thank you and Dave Cable for having us on. That was
It's-
very
Yes.
nice of you.
And we appreciate
I'm
it.
quite sure. And if you have anything else that you would like, or anyone else that would like to do a show, we're always looking for people.
Beautiful.
It's all volunteer, and if you get into watching it on YouTube, we do all kinds of shows. But this one will be special in my heart. And I thank you. I thank
you.
you from the bottom
Thank you
of
so
my
much,
heart.
Susie.
Thank you for
And
having
I
us.
thank you, Guy.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Just want to tell the
Thanks,
man,
sweetheart.
make sure you get checked.
Exactly.
Yes,
Get
please. Now it's the time that I really don't like. I have to say goodbye. And this show was important, educational, and a lot of fun. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. God bless. I love you. And thanks from Let's Talk.